The lying boomer archetype is something I never get tired of exploring. Few people embody this archetype more than Dinesh D'Souza. Throughout his book, The United States of Socialism, Dinesh keeps talking about political figures and media personalities like they're some kind of diehard advocates of a political ideology. He acts like they're ideologues. This is wrong. People like Obama, Clinton, Pelosi, etc., these are not devotees of any ideology. They say what they say because they are all blackmailed by child traffickers working on behalf of Mossad. Obama is not a socialist. He's a PDF file blackmailed by our greatest ally. The goal is to move America further along the road to literal, actual biblical hell. The political and economic elites are controlled by demons. Some of them might be actual demons themselves, but that's not really anything that you and I can know for sure. Either way, demons are controlling them. And if you disagree with this, you're not a serious person. Catch up, man. Why does Trump protect Israeli PDFs like Epstein and Tom Artyom Alexandrovich? If I remember correctly, those guys are not even the first Israeli pedos who Trump has protected. Trump just has some kind of weird love affair with Israeli pedos. And then I ask myself, does Dinesh D'Souza know all this? Is he lying about it? Is he just ignorant? I tend to ascribe things to malice rather than incompetence because at a certain point, incompetence becomes malice. At a certain point, you're so ignorant of important issues that we can't even really say you're incompetent anymore. It's weaponized incompetence, and to me, that's malice. Failing to recognize the fundamental reality that our politicians are controlled by Epstein's employer, that makes you so incompetent that it actually transforms into malice. It's like alchemy. Sorry, Dinesh, but I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. You're too wrong about too many hugely important issues. We cannot afford to give boomers the benefit of the doubt anymore. A boomer will sit there and be like, oh, whoopsie doopsie, we were too busy partying in the 70s and 80s to bother fighting against the people deliberately dissolving the foundations of America and Europe. And then rather than fighting against it, we actively encouraged it and did everything in our power to shut down millennials and Gen Z when they figured out what was going on. So that's no longer incompetence, it's malice. And then boomers want to call us socialists because we're done with their rigged economic game that they deliberately weaponized against us. Bitch, please. You think we're scared of buzzwords? It costs thousands of dollars to rent a shithole apartment in the middle of nowhere, and we're going to be scared because you called us socialists? If that word scares boomers so much, maybe we need to lean into it, if only to give them heart attacks. You think you hate boomers enough, but you don't. This is why I have to go so hard at grifters like Dinesh and all his mega boomer friends. The entire boomer understanding of history was put into their heads by the people who employed Epstein. And rather than saying, you know what, you're right, I was deceived, they just piss their pants and cry about us becoming Nazis. Well, cry harder, guys. Antifa are the real fascists? No. We are. You idiots think Trump and Obama are enemies. They're both controlled by the same people, and if you can't see that, then your opinion is not worth anything. You think Trump is serious when he says he wants to lock up Obama for his role in the Russia hacked the election hoax? Come on. Aren't you embarrassed to be so stupid? Dinesh writes about how Bernie Sanders calls himself a socialist and Elizabeth Warren calls herself a capitalist. He says, quote, they are separated by labels but working in ideological tandem. That's what MAGA boomers and shitlibs are. They both poo-poo their panties crying about Nazis. They both happily enslave themselves to the left-right dichotomy. They both support their favorite team. That's what politics is for MAGA boomers and shitlibs. It's a football game. I support the blue jerseys, you support the red jerseys, so we're enemies. But ideologically, they both work for the same people. MAGA should have ended when Trump buried the Epstein case, But you can jump on Twitter right now and see grannies talking about how much they love the greatest president ever. He called it the Gulf of America. This is what I voted for. It was never about the issues. It was about supporting one team over the other. It's about renaming things the Gulf of the Buffalo Bills instead of the Gulf of the Miami Dolphins. Anybody who's still on the MAGA train, you are human garbage. I hate you. You deserve to go to hell. You're lucky that God won't judge you as harshly as I would. I would never forgive a pedo, but MAGA boomers fall all over themselves to talk about how much they love the guy who is openly and proudly controlled by... The rest of this sentence cannot exist on YouTube. That's who the MAGA boomers worship. They pretend to be Christian. Dinesh writes books about Christianity, and then when the easiest open and shut case in human history rolls up on a silver platter like, here I am, the easiest true or false test question you'll ever face, the MAGA boomers are too stupid to recognize it. MAGA boomers are actually worse than shitlibs because shitlibs never believed in the Epstein thing. They believe whatever their TV tells them, and the TV tells them that Epstein is a total nutjob fringe conspiracy theory. But MAGA boomers, they like conspiracies. They'll do whatever Fox tells them to do, but occasionally they go digging for alternative explanations. And when they found the Epstein thing initially, they knew they couldn't look away until Trump told them to look away. They worship Trump more than they worship the truth. This is why we cannot defend Trump from left-wing attacks anymore. Let the lefties say whatever they want about Trump, no matter how untrue. Let the lefties go through all the classic nonsense, grab him by the pussy, inject bleach, horse medicine, all of it. Act as if the lefties are correct. If Trump supporters don't like this situation, too fucking bad, maybe you guys shouldn't have sided with the fucking pedophiles. So now millennials and Gen Z, we are socialists. We are Nazis. We're anything that scares you, because if a MAGA boomer is scared, it means they're closer to getting a heart attack. They're closer to the grave. And when they are all gone, the world can finally start to heal. The one thing boomers love more than their own children is the concept of corporations being able to do literally anything they want. And as long as they're able to make some money, that means it's a good corporation that should be allowed to exist and continue doing literally anything they want. And yeah, we're Christians, but we love capitalism more than we love God. The boomer brain is addicted to unfettered capitalism, which explains why vaccines were allowed to explode while boomers were in charge of the world. It explains why Americans think Velveeta is anything other than orange poison. Dinesh D'Souza cries about Elizabeth Warren supporting something called the Accountable Capitalism Act. He describes it, quote, "The government would require companies to include the interests of workers, customers, communities, and society as a whole before making major decisions." Boomer Dinesh calls you entitled if you think corporations shouldn't be allowed to poison people and chemically castrate them. In Dinesh's world of unfettered capitalism, a 13-year-old boy would be allowed to take puberty-blocking hormones because he wants to be a girl. This version of capitalism is not compatible with Christianity. But forget Christianity, it's not even compatible with common sense. No, actually, we're not going to let corporations make these decisions anymore. We don't care if you're a 13-year-old who wants to be transgender. Not going to happen. Cry about it. And we're going to put doctors in cages if they enable your gender delusion. And we're going to imprison the CEOs of companies that make puberty-blocking chemicals. The boomer concept of freedom is what led to this burger punk shit dystopia that is strangling millennials and Gen Z. If boomers don't like it, too bad, cope and seethe. You had your fun in the 80s, now your kids are grown up and we're putting you on fucking timeout. Party's over, your music sucks, your ideas are idiotic beyond comprehension. Corporations can either act in the best interest of their workers and customers, or those executives can be put into cages until they die. That's your choice. The younger generation never wanted to be this way. But since we were raised by a generation But since we were raised by a generation of delusional narcissists, we're going to have to be the adults. Womp womp. Now, should we trust that Elizabeth Warren's Accountable Capitalism Act would actually accomplish what we need it to accomplish? Will the act actually do what it says it'll do? No, of course not. Warren is another delusional boomer like Dinesh D'Souza. Every boomer needs to be removed from positions of power. They had too much for too long and they can't handle it. They're like a little toddler with cotton candy. You can't handle that, we're taking it away. Boomers can't handle power. They use their power for evil, so we need their reign of terror to end. That's it for now, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Who are your favorite delusional boomers? I think Dinesh is pretty funny with his whole "I think I'm a toad" thing. And like Victor Davis Hanson, Steve Bannon, gatekeeping slop for boomers. I'll see you next time, baby. I love ya.